Hello, I'm Robert Ule, and I'm doing a series on how to be a good environmental steward. I'm an environmental expert. I've been doing this for 25 years. I ran my company's environmental safety and governance program and even led them to being evaluated by the CDP project as one of their sustainability leaders, making us one of the top 2% of the companies in the world in this area. My technical background is I have a mechanical engineering degree, electrical engineering degree, a nuclear engineer. I'm trained as a nuclear plant operator. So I have a lot of technical expertise in this area, and that was how I approached it. The What I want to share, though, is my Christian perspective on the environmental movement and how bringing that worldview, that perspective into it led to these results that I just shared with you. This reference you see posted above my shoulder, Genesis 1:26. This is where God tells Adam and Eve that it's your responsibility. You have dominion over all the earth. All of the things that are alive on the earth, you have dominion over. Unfortunately, that word dominion has a connotation of control, manipulation. I can use and abuse the world's resources any way I wish. And unfortunately, you can. But that's not God's plan. This is made very clear in Matthew 20, 25 through 28 by Jesus himself, who said, don't be that way. Do not be an overlord, abusing what you have responsibility for. You need to be a servant. We want to be servant leaders taking care of the environment. All that is alive on this earth, we are to be good stewards of these creatures and of the resources and the environments necessary to sustain them. That is what God wants us to do. And so that's how I approached the environmental movement. What this led me to is a slightly different paradigm than the people I worked with. So I'm going to share my paradigm and then we'll talk a little bit about the conflict that caused. From my perspective, cost is environmental impact. The more resources I use is measured by how much I'm spending. And the more I spend, the more I'm using, and the bigger my environmental footprint is. And so my objective was to eliminate waste and find ways to reduce cost. So a simple example is the cleanest energy that I used is the energy I don't use. So by reducing energy consumption, that has a great benefit. But determining the cost is important. And this is something that everyone that I've worked with agrees on, is that we need to know the true cost so we can make the best possible choice on what we're going to do. What are those costs? I'll use the example of a car. You're going to purchase an electric car. There's the purchase price of that car for you. There's cost to others. Electric vehicles have rebates on them. Those either are paid by the taxpayers or they're paid by ratepayers for a utility. There's the cost to you of the life of that activity. I've got to buy the electricity, the battery wears out, the tires wear out. And so I have a cost per mile that can be estimated. There's the cost to end the activity. I need to properly dispose of it when it's worn out. Sometimes we can recover some of those costs because things that we are done with have value in them still. So you can actually get some of your cost reduced by proper disposal. And then there's the tough one, the cost to remediate the damage caused by my activity. This is the cost to the environment or to others. It needs to be cleaned up or repaired. So for a car with gasoline, it has a tailpipe. It's emitting carbon dioxide into the environment. We call that carbon, even though it's carbon dioxide. And so we need to figure out what's the cost of that. Well, there's a cost to take it back out of the environment. We can estimate that. We have ways of doing that, like planting trees. We can have somebody else not put, we can help them not put carbon dioxide into the environment and take credit for it. That's a carbon credit. And so these have price tags on them. And that is the most common way for us to estimate this cost to remediate the damage, certainly for the carbon dioxide. And so these are measurable. It's just challenging, and you need to be diligent and do that. So that's the paradigm that I operated under. However, I would get in meetings and I'd run into this conflicting paradigm. People would want to pick the solution that costs the most because it's got to be better, right? It costs more. We'll make them do the most expensive one. And if I'm I'm the naysayer says, no, no, we don't want to use more resources. We want to use less resources to solve our problems. And so there was always this conflict, and I wasn't generally that clear. I was trying to gently persuade people that no, we can find a less expensive way to do this. That would be the better solution. Let's minimize not only what we're trying to clean up, but let's minimize the cost associated with cleaning it up if we can. Let's look for that solution. That's how I approach sustainability. That's how I approached energy efficiency. This paradigm that cost is a good starting measure for my environmental impact. And that's how I took a company to become one of the leaders in sustainability. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this talk. I hope this is common sense enough to you that you can get your head wrapped around it. And I look forward to sharing more of these talks with you. Thank you.